Continuing my journey around Lithuania, I have finally gotten around to making a video for Kaunas. I've been to Kaunas many times before, but this time I was ready to film and document my time in Lithuania's second largest city. So in this video, you'll see what I did in Kaunas during my roughly 36 hours in the city. With some errands to do, it means that I only really got to experience the city center, and I think you'll have to keep this in mind when I offer my opinions about the place, particularly when compared to my life in Vilnius. Well, the trip started with a drive from Vilnius in the middle of the day. It was in the middle of June, and so it was pretty hot and sunny. We arrived at this apartment-style property reserved through Booking.com called Jolie Apartments. The location was fantastic and less than 5 minutes walk from the start of Laisvės alėja. As for the place itself, I loved this loft and upper bed arrangement. What do you think? After dropping off our things there, we headed to the start of Laisvės alėja and walked all the way down to Kaunas Castle. The one end of this area has the beautiful Church of St. Michael the Archangel, which you can see here. Along our walk down Laisvės alėja, my wife was sure to stop at Spurginė, which is this old diner which has been around for ages, which is well known for its wide variety of fresh and tasty donuts. This is often a place that most people would recommend visiting on any visit to Kaunas. It started off as a decent day, but eventually it became cloudy, and then dark and cloudy. But it was still warm enough to be out enjoying the heart of the Kaunas city center. This area is one of the best parts of Kaunas, in my opinion at least. It's a car-free zone with most people choosing to walk rather than cycle or take an electric scooter. All down this strip there are restaurants, cafes, and all sorts of shops and services. There was a surprising number of optical shops in my opinion, but maybe it's just because I was more aware of them more than any other type of store. I understand why there would be numerous coffee shops and restaurants, but eyeglass shops? I wouldn't have expected more than like 3, but there seemed to be many more than that. But anyways, Laisvės alėja transitions into Kaunas Old Town, and connecting one area to the other is Vilnius Street, which includes an underpass under a main road. The Kaunas Old Town is beautiful and a pleasure to walk through, especially since they renovated and repaved the main street. Like you'll find in most old European towns, there are restaurants and cafes and outdoor seating in the summertime. Vilnius Street, the high street of Kaunas Old Town, ends at Kaunas Town Hall Square. With the edges of the square lined with restaurants with plenty of outdoor seating, I imagine it's a nice place to be to enjoy a lunch or dinner. On the other side of Kaunas Priest Seminary is Kauno or Kaunas Castle. Due to the time of day, the weather, and our energy levels, my wife and I didn't pay to go inside the castle. However, we did walk up to the free area on the second level just to check out the view. It was around that point that it started raining, and we decided to go back to our accommodation. It was a pretty calm night, and we spent the last hours of the day watching 2 episodes of the new season of Black Mirror.
How are you doing out there? Cool!
In the morning, we packed up our things and said goodbye to our lovely accommodations. We then loaded our bags in the car and parked somewhere else so that we could walk around the area again. Our first stop was for breakfast at Holy Donut. I know there are 2 of these locations in Vilnius, but I had yet to try it out for myself. So I thought this was a pretty good opportunity for it. I had a North African poached egg stew dish called shakshuka, while my wife had avocado on toast. As you can see, both looked pretty good, and we were both quite satisfied with our experience at the restaurant. With the place being called Holy Donut, we just had to end things off with one of their tasty looking donuts. After breakfast, or brunch, we walked through the old town again. This time walking back along the Nemunas River. It's mostly beautiful, but it felt like some parts of the riverside were fairly bare and abandoned. After a short stop at the Acropolis Shopping Center, we then headed to the big, beautiful, modern Christ Resurrection Church. It's an iconic part of the Kaunas cityscape and we decided to pay a few euro to take the lift up to the top to take in the view. It looks like this, and well, it's pretty nice. The evening was spent at a mega mall called, well, Mega. It's a super big shopping center about 7 kilometers from the city center. We had a light snack there before heading over to a friend's place. So at this point, I'll just have to admit that it's about all that I saw of Kaunas. My wife had a few appointments, including an evening meetup with friends. This meant that we really only got to experience Laisvės alėja, the main part of the old town, and the short trip up to the top of Christ's Resurrection Church. I don't think this really qualifies me to make any comments or comparisons about Kaunas, but I'm going to offer some of my reactions anyways. Obviously, the best parts of Kaunas city center, in my humble opinion, are Laisvės alėja and Kaunas Old Town. I didn't get to explore the Old Town in its entirety, but it did seem like most of the action was found on Vilnius Street and at the Town Hall Square. I think what I didn't quite like with Kaunas was how spread out the rest of the city felt. I couldn't find too many other people discussing this aspect of urban planning online, at least in English, but I did find one 2016 piece by Živilė Simkutė titled Transition Towards Sustainable City. In it, she describes Kaunas like this. New interventions in an independent country are increasing spatial and social fragmentation, allowing big-scale commercial developments to occupy parks and valuable public spaces. There are only a few improvements of existing housing stock, and residential areas are surrounded by wide roads with no street life. I think this passage described my feeling of the area outside of Kaunas city center quite well. Roads are super wide with often 3 lanes on each side, and it doesn't feel too pleasant to travel through if you're not in a car. It really does feel like these outer communities were designed around the automobile and not so much for walkability. My wife, who grew up in Kaunas, disagrees with me though. I think she's a little biased, but at the same time, I have to admit I'm a little biased too. Vilnius, with its various neighborhoods, feel a lot more connected in my opinion. But again, it's all just my opinion, and maybe Kaunas residents will feel differently. But anyways, there's my summary and reflection of 36 short hours in Lithuania's second largest city. The city center is really beautiful during the summertime, and I'm sure it's just as nice during other times of the year as well. I definitely think it's worth visiting if you're in Lithuania, and since it's a short bus or train ride from Vilnius, you can easily take a day trip here if you're staying in the capital city. I'm guessing some of you will disagree with my opinions of Kaunas. And maybe some of you might actually agree too. Whatever your opinion of the city, I'd love to hear what you have to say about it. So please leave a comment down below. And now for the Lithuanian word of the day, let's go with miestas, which means city in Lithuanian. Kaunas yra miestas. Kaunas is a city. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.